We're looking at Matthew chapter 5. Thank you for being here, and we're anxious to get into the Word together. Matthew chapter 5 and 6 and 7, the Sermon on the Mount. We are looking actually at chapter 6, and I want to read a section for you and with you of this passage. It's a long chapter, 34 verses long, and we dealt last week with verse 1, actually down through verse 18. And I'd like to read with you verse 19 down through just 24. Should read the whole thing, but there's so much of it, and we'll be going over it. We're doing an overall study of the book of, that is, of the Sermon on the Mount, and we've had to divide it because of the length of it into 3 sections. So we've divided it into chapter 5, actually, obviously 6 and 7. And chapter 5 is the present reality of the kingdom. Chapter 6 is the progressive relationship of the kingdom. And chapter 7 is the permeating reception of the kingdom. And we're looking at chapter 6, verse 19. Jesus is speaking. Jesus is speaking. Jesus is speaking. Jesus is speaking to you. Will you listen? Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust corrupt, destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The lamp of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye is good, your whole body will be full of light. And if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in you is darkness, how great is that darkness? No one, meaning no exceptions, no one can serve 2 masters. For either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will be loyal to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. Jesus, open your heart to us today. Go beyond anything and everything that we are, and give us the purity of the revelation of yourself. Please, oh please, oh please. In Jesus' name, amen. In preaching, we, just for your information, we kind of run preachers, at least I do. I guess I can't speak for others, but I run the gamut of emotions in preaching. Some mornings I come and I feel like, man, what a truth, and I just feel like laying it out and going at it, and I yell and scream and spit and fume, and from that extreme all the way down to there are mornings when I would like to just, I wish I could just gather my arm around you and just take you off in a corner or in your living room and just say, let me try to explain this to you. This is one of those mornings. And I don't think I have any control over that. Maybe it's the way my wife treated me this week. I don't know. But I don't think I have any control over that. But I really feel that way this morning. And I don't know if it's the truth, and I don't know whether to blame God for it, but it's just where we are at this point. We started, of course, on this Matthew chapter 6 last week in the summary of this thing. And I presented to you the idea that, of course, the whole flow is about kingship. So you're always dealing with the kingship of Jesus in the book of Matthew. He's always pounding you, pressing you, shoving it into your face. I'm trying to tell you that Jesus is the king. And the kind of king he is very unusual. So everything you've ever learned about a king and everything you've ever known about a king, you got to push that aside, because this is a whole new ball game. I'm going to give you new content about this whole business of kingship. I'm going to give you new content of what kingship is all about in the framework of the kingdom. And Jesus is a new style of king. It's a cross style, if you want that term. It's a style of pour your life out, give yourself up. This is not a king who rides in on a white steed. This is a king who comes in on a donkey, a symbol of servanthood. This is not a king who's gathering taxes to supply and answer his own needs and elevate himself. This is a king who's pouring his life out for you. So this is a whole new style of kingdom that he's presenting to us. Jesus is this new king. And the reason he's this king is not because he's God, although he is God. The reason he's king is not because he's God, although he is God. The reason he's king is not because he's God, although he is God. Are you getting this? The reason he's king is not because he's God, although he is God. But the reason he's king is because he's the first man to walk in the kingdom. And as the first man to walk in the kingdom, he's the only one qualified to set the whole thing up. And in his death and resurrection and ascension, he is going to establish this kingship. And then in that kingdom, you will be able to come to and be exactly like him. So this kingdom is not going to be made up of God and man. This kingdom is going to be made up of all men who are filled with God. And Jesus is the king of this whole new species of humanity. Oh, isn't that neat? In fact, we noticed in chapter 5, verse 1, that he comes, and this is a new style of kingdom, a new style of kingship. He comes, and when he had, at verse 1, seeing the multitudes, he went up on a mountain, and when he was seated, so his throne is the mountain. See, he's not interested in gold, and he's not interested in fancy, and he's interested in natural, he's interested in flow, he's interested in, whoa, it's a mountain that's his throne. And of course, as Matthew proceeds in his writings, you're going to see that his throne literally becomes and he's going to reign over this kingdom from a cross, which will be his throne. And as he, in verse 1, is seated on his throne, his court comes. And who's his court? Oh, they're well-bred. You know, they're well-educated. They're disciples. They're from Galilee. Oh, they can hardly write their own name. They're fishermen. Oh, they fight a lot. Oh, they got dirt under their fingernails. Oh, you know, they listen to country and western music. They're from Nashville. They can't even talk right. You know, they're that kind. They're that kind. That's his court, which is phenomenal. And he opened, verse 2, opened his mouth. And as he opened his mouth, he presented this phenomenal manifesto of the kingdom. Now, we discovered that the first chapter is literally the present reality of the kingdom. And this present reality, of course, is telling you, and it was so startling that it knocked them out of their senses, he says at the end of the Sermon on the Mount. And what was so startling about it was he did not present the kingdom as a road to travel and you'll finally get there. He did not present the kingdom as a moral system that if you work hard on it and develop the disciplines and get your life shaped up, and if you progress enough and work up and climb the levels of it, you will finally arrive. He comes and whacks you on the back. Oh, blessed, which is congratulations, you're there. You're already at the end of the journey. You're already where you need to be. And the reason is because this is not a moral system to achieve. This is not material to master. This is a relationship with him. And he just goes into that so forcibly in the passage. Well, doesn't this kingdom have rules and laws? Absolutely. But you got to understand, the rules and the laws have been fulfilled, he says. Fulfilled. And that's verse 17. Do not think I came to destroy the law of the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to fulfill. So all of this, the laws of the kingdom are fulfilled in the person of Jesus. And if he is a prototype of who we are to be, do you understand? Then all the laws are fulfilled in us as well. fulfilled meaning that they're not that they're gone, but fulfilled meaning that they now have so merged themselves into our system that they've become a part of the very spontaneous nature of how we act. Last night we gave the illustration of the alphabet blocks. When I was little, of course, in kindergarten, we played with alphabet blocks and the A, B, C. And my mom would stand me up and sing the alphabet song, and they would applaud when I did. It was the only solo I ever got to sing. And it was alphabet blocks. The alphabet has never gone away in my life, but has somehow been absorbed into reading. And I don't think about the alphabet. I don't sing the alphabet song anymore. I don't concentrate on alphabet. I don't try to write the letters correctly because that's not intelligent. The worse you write, the better and more intelligent you are. Never mind. So the you don't concentrate on that stuff. You guys are tight. They were tight last night too. I don't know what the deal is. Loosen up, folks. It's okay. So the alphabet has been absorbed into this whole reading thing, and it's there. And it's necessary, but see, that's the law. The law is not gone. The laws have just been absorbed into this intimate relationship with Him until in Him all that I need and want and everything, my whole desires and the motive, it all becomes a driving force within the human being. And He's presenting the kingdom, and He's saying, whoa, you're there. Why? Because you're already in the kingdom. So this is not grit your teeth. This is not count to 10. This is not anger management. This is not, you know what this is? This is embrace. This is love. And in Him, everything I need. Oh, congratulations. This is what they said of old. He just marches through this in this chapter 5. This is what they said of old. Oh, this is what I say to you. How can you say that? Because you and I are in an embrace. The old said, thou shalt not commit adultery. The new says, don't even lust. What? How could that possibly be? Because I'm going to embrace you, and my nature is going to become yours. And in the embrace, you and I, you're the kingdom people. The old said, don't murder. I say, don't even hate. Why? Oh, because you don't want to hate. You can't hate. Hating is impossible. Why? Because it just grinds my system to hate. It just makes me break out in hives to hate. I don't want to hate. I hate hate. I despise hate. Hate is not, no, I will not hate. Why? Because I just can't hate. I got all His nature. He and I. See, you're in the kingdom, people. You're in the kingdom. Oh, that's phenomenal. Now, we move then to chapter 6, which is the progressive revelation of this whole thing. And we discovered that what he's doing in chapter 6 is really showing us how this relationship plays out. So what he's really giving us is the practical application. So if you say, okay, the kingdom is not someplace I'm going, it's a place where I am. It's a state of existence in which I now exist because I'm in relationship with His person. The king is showing up, and He is announcing, here's the kingdom. And I'm embracing Him, and therefore I'm in the kingdom. And He's in me, and so in that intimacy, I'm experiencing kingdom state of living. How does that practically spill out? I mean, that sounds nice in church, but hey, I'm out here on the highway, and somebody's cutting me off. And I don't like that. And so how does a kingdom person respond to that? Somebody came up to me and slapped me in the mouth. Hey, I'm a kingdom person now. How do I respond to that? How does this practically play out? Now, do you realize that He's not giving us rules? Because if you look at the practical outplay and say, oh, that's what I got to do. How am I going to do it? Oh, I'll try harder. See, you've ruined it. See, this is the practical outplay. This is the natural, spontaneous. This is the, whoa, can't help myself kind of spill out of the living. So it's a pivotal chapter. Now, it's really interesting that in doing this, he begins to lay out for us the whole idea of 3 areas. And by the way, he's not saying, I want you to believe like this, and then you will be in the kingdom. He's saying, if you get into the kingdom and in relationship with me, this revelation of belief will begin to spill out of you. In other words, it's not the establishment of a doctrine and then that brings you to Jesus. It's you come to Jesus and let your doctrine spill out of the person of Jesus. That's really important. See, it's not, well, I'm going to develop my belief and shape my theology and I'll get it all systematized and lay it all out. Now, that will bring me to Jesus. No, you need to come to Jesus. He is the seed of truth because he's the sower of the seed. And he's going to, your doctrine, your theology, what you believe must come out of this intimate relationship with his person. And so many of us, we've gone to school, we've learned, we've been in Sunday school, we've developed, and then tried to impose that upon Jesus. He says, no, what I want you to do is, I want you to come to Jesus and let him shape. Would you let him shape how you view this thing? So in chapter 6, he begins to do that. Now he tackles 3 areas. Charitable deeds in verse 1 down through verse 4. He tackles the prayer idea, verse 5 down through verse 15. And he tackles fasting, verse 16 through 18, which all are religious practices. But the interesting thing about those, why would he pick those 3? Are those the most important? Well, it seems to be. The reason we say that is because these 3 areas in religion seem to be play a dominant role in all world religions. So any religion you get into, they're going to talk to you about prayer. Wherever you go, there's going to be a meditation prayer thing. They're going to talk to you about fasting. They're going to talk to you about others and loving others. And see, those are so basic. It's like those 3 things somehow, they're not just in religion, but they encompass the very areas of your life. You see, the charitable deed thing is really not about charitable deeds at all. It's really about materialism and how you relate to the materialistic area of your life, which every one of us, we all battle that one, man. The whole prayer thing is about your relationship with God and what kind of communication is established and how that relationship is. And of course, the whole fasting thing is really all about your relationship between the physical and the spiritual and how those 2 areas which you have in your life, whether you want it or not, physical and spiritual, and how those relate. So he's really bringing us to the basic fundamentals of life itself. Materialism, relationship to God, and relationship of the physical with the spiritual. Now, he gives a negative and then he gives a positive in every one of those areas. He starts out with a negative and says, don't be like this. Don't do this. Example, chapter 6, verse 1. Take heed that you do not do your charitable deeds before men to be seen by them. So he gives you a standard. Well, there's a rule right there. Don't do charitable deeds. Don't do like Nathan did. Say, I'll give 98 cents. Don't do that. So there's an example of what not to do. You stand up in the congregation and float your dollar and say, hey, I'm giving. And we all look at you and say, whoa. He says, don't do that. Don't do that. Well, what should I do? He says, don't sound a trumpet, verse 2. When you give a charitable deed, do not sound a trumpet before you as the hypocrites do. But I say to you, they have their reward. But, verse 3, do a charitable deed. Do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, that your charitable deed may be done in secret. Now, the point of all of this is, well, he's giving us a bunch of rules on how to give charitably. No, he's not. Because, get this, because if you did this the way he told you to do it, you still wouldn't have gotten it. Because this is not a practice for, see, the whole emphasis of the passage is what? Motive, folks. Why do they stand up and wave their dollar? So we all look at them when they give. Well, they want to be seen by men. Why do I want you to go into secret and do it secretly? Well, it's because you don't care. you're not doing it to be seen, because God drew you to do it, because your nature of the kingdom says, I got to pour my life out. And this is not about being seen by. So the whole idea of the passage is what? Motive, not. So if you observe the pattern exactly the way it was supposed to be done, you still wouldn't be doing what he wants you to do, because it isn't about the pattern, it's about the inner motive. What drives you? What burns in your being? What do you have his heartbeat? Have you gotten so tight to it? That's the kingdom. I'm in a state of being where I'm in intimacy with Jesus, and his heartbeat is mine. And I feel like he feels, and the charitable deeds are just spilling out of me. I don't even think about whether I do or whether I don't, or should I or shouldn't I. It's I can't help myself. It's just the way I feel. That's what's going on in the passage. Now he does the same thing in prayer. He comes to the whole prayer deal down in verse 5. And it isn't about prayer. Come on. Don't pray like the hypocrites, standing in the synagogue, in the corner of the streets, that they may be seen by men. See, it's motive. It's all about why you do what you do, what drives you. He says kingdom people are driven by the nature of Jesus, because they're in this intimacy. So if you look at the whole prayer thing and say, I pray just like he told me to. I got a prayer closet, got a candle, got a timer, I got a little altar. I took all my clothes out and put them by the bed, and I made a prayer closet, and I shut the door and locked the door, and I pray the Lord's Prayer, and I do just exactly. He still wouldn't be doing what he wants you to do, because this isn't about that. This is about, I'm in communication with God. Well, what form does that take? I don't care. Well, I stand on my head when I pray. Well, but God bless you. I bet you don't pray very long, do you? Because this is not about position. This is about walking down the street in communication. This is about a God who's come to embrace you. In fact, the next time we sing this song, his eye is on the sparrow, and I know he's watching. Let's change it to embracing. This is not a God who's standing over there watching me. This is a God who's embracing me. He watches sparrows fall, but he embraces me. See, that's intimacy. So the whole prayer thing is about your relationship with him and the communication. And he says, I'm bringing you to a state of the kingdom whereby you now are in the kingdom. You're not working yourself up to a kingdom. You are in the kingdom because I am the kingdom. And in the embrace of my person, you've arrived. And what have you arrived to? Intimacy. Intimacy. Now he does the same thing in fasting. He says, hey, come on. Shape up. Wash your face, man. Brush your teeth. Good night. Don't be like that. I'm fasting. I haven't eaten since this morning. What are you? Come on, get off of that. This is not. Why? Because your motive is wrong. See, it's not about fasting practices. It's about motive and what drives you. And now, he finishes that at verse 18. Then he turns around and says, Let me talk to you about these same three subjects. I'm not going to mention them. But I want to forget, because I know if I talk to you about it again, charitable deeds, you'll get all wrapped up in charitable deeds. Who's worthy of our charitable deeds? Who should we give charitable deeds to? See, forget that. Let's talk about what that's all about. For instance, do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth. See, charitable deeds is about materialism. And since materialism is the heart of what charitable deeds are all about, what's your relationship with materialism, and what should it be like? And he gives this biblical imagery. Look at this. Do you see the parallel? Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth. Verse 20. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven. Now, did you notice the play on treasures on earth and treasures in heaven? See, you don't have treasures on earth like you have treasures in heaven. Two different deals. It's interesting that the Greek word for on is ep, and the Greek word for in, of course, is in, with two different ideas. Oh, this is phenomenal. The two different ideas is, epi is the idea of resting upon. It's the idea of a motion towards something. So when he says, do not lay up for yourselves treasures on, focused on. See, it's a focus deal. Focused on, all wrapped up in, moving towards. See, your treasures on earth all move towards earth. They never get to heaven. There's this old story about this really rich guy. When he's about to die, he took all of his money. And he bought this, I don't know, $1 million car and bought this big vault and bought all this stuff. And he was buried in that. Here was this big crane at his funeral, bringing this car down, putting it in this vault, sealing it. Oh, one guy standing there watching that say, what a way to live. You didn't get it. He's not living. You don't take it with you. In 50 years, we'll dig it up and, oh, there it is. You came into this world naked. You're going out naked. You will not take one single, because all the materialism of this hour is focused on earth. It's all moving towards, it's all focused on, it's all wrapped up in earth. Is it bad? No. Is it wrong? No. Is it necessary? I suppose. But it's all focused on. He said, you know what I want you to do? I want you to focus on that which will matter forever and ever and ever. See, in is fixed. In is resting. In is not no movement. He says this heavenly thing that I'm talking to you about, the treasure in heaven is the kingdom stuff. And I'm talking about get your sight on, get your focus all wrapped up in that which is going to matter forever and ever and ever and ever, which is relationship, man. March back into chapter 5. Work your way through that with this concept. Everything he's talking about, they said of old, I say to you, march that concept through that. They said of old, thou shalt not murder. I say to you, don't hate. Do you realize that if you have a focus on that which is towards this earth, you will hate everybody who gets in your way? Everybody who doesn't agree with you has to be absolutely stupid. Your relationships are all focused like this. He says, what I want you to do is I want you to get focused on what's going to matter forever. And you know what's going to matter forever? It isn't going to be the property line. It isn't going to be, well, they ripped me off. It isn't going to be, that isn't going to matter 100 years from now. Nobody's going to know. It isn't going to be the athletic trophy. Man, by the time you're 70, the head is broken off the thing, and you threw it away. I mean, come on. Nobody remembers or cares. What matters forever and ever and ever is relationship, folks. Love and relationship go on forever. So tear down every wall. Push everything aside. Be in the kingdom with the motivation of Jesus. And motivation of Jesus is, I am not going to allow anything to bring a wall between you and me. I will not tolerate it. I'm tearing down every wall. I'm coming after you. I will not quit. Why? Because you matter, man. And that relationship will be forever. And remember, I've got my arm around you and I'm whispering in the corner. See, if you focus on materialism, your relationship, marriage, don't They said don't commit adultery. I say to you, well, I got physical drives. Wait till you get to be 80. They don't matter so much. What matters in marriage? Relationship, man. If you just want physical relief, go hire somebody. You don't need that. That isn't the deal in marriage, see? The deal in marriage is what? Relationship and building relationship. And whatever you have to do to build relationship between your kids and, see, it's focus. Are you getting this? The idea that he's propounding is just overwhelming. Because you're in me now. And you have arrived in a state of the kingdom. And we're talking about materialism. Don't focus on what is focused on the earth. Focus on that which is focused in the heavenlies. Because it's the focus of the heart. It's the treasure. In fact, he goes on to say, verse 21, the climax of that, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. That's interesting. What bothers you in your heart? What upsets you? Well, again, they ripped me off $50. This makes me mad. Why are you all focused on that? Because your heart is focused on that, he says. See, why don't you come to me and say, oh, they ripped me off $50. They stole $50 from me, and I just can't stand what must be going on in them that makes them capable of doing that. I see where they're going with this. And if they'd rip me off of $50, they'll rip the next guy off of $100, and before they know it, they'll be robbing a bank. Oh, I can't stand this. Oh, I can't stand that, what they're becoming. I care too much. See, that's focus, because his nature is within me. That's the idea. Now, he moves on to give this picture of the eye. The lamp of the body is the eye. And therefore, if your eye is good, which means good, healthy, it's about a focus, clear. If your eye is clear, your whole body is full of light. And if your eye is bad, evil, unhealthy, your whole body is full of darkness. So he gives this whole picture again. And what's the element of all of that? It's all about focus. That's what matters in there. See, he says, what is your eye focused on? What do you see? See, that really is the point of all of it. Then he moves into this master thing, and we'll just rush through this, but look at verse 24. No one can serve two masters, for he will either hate one and love the other, or else he will be loyal to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. So there's no way to serve God and materialism. You cannot focus on both of them. Well, you say, preacher, how am I going to know whether materialism is my focus or not? Oh, he says, that's easy. What do you worry about? Verse 25. Therefore I say to you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, what you will drink, about your body, what you'll put on. So how do I know whether you're serving God or mammon? Because, I'm all upset, I'm stressed out, So your focus is on what? Materialism. So what you worry about tells what's inside of you, tells what your focus is. Materialism. Well, what about the prayer thing? Let's walk through the same material with prayer. This is going to be awful, folks. Hope you don't have any stones this morning. Prayer. Prayer is really interesting, isn't it? Our relationship with God. If this is true, look at verse 19. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth. Think in terms of prayer now. Where moth and rust doth corrupt. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven. So what should be my focus of my prayer life? Not focused on this earth, the word on. Not moving towards this earth. My whole prayer life should be about what? What matters in heaven. Anybody have a prayer request? I do. Would you pray for Aunt Jane's ingrown toenail? Would you pray for? And a lot of them are legitimate. Would you pray for? And we make a whole list, and you know what every single one of them is focused on? On earth. Well, is that bad? You mean we shouldn't pray for healing? Didn't say that. You mean God doesn't want to ask the desires of our heart? He doesn't want to give us the desires of our heart? But you know what he's talking about? He's talking about, oh, you know what's happened, folks? The king has arrived. And in the intimate embrace with the king, you want to get into this? The intimate embrace of the king. Oh, in his intimate embrace, you're in the kingdom. And what drives him drives you. And what he wants is what you want. And what he desires, you desire. So, whoa, all your prayer is going to be focused on what? What matters forever. Man, I could change an hour worth of prayer down to about 5 minutes. Because most of my prayer life is about earth, my problems, which all revolve around my materialism. And he's saying, you pray about what? Oh, God, I've got this bill. Do not worry about your life. Well, you're just telling me to forget those things? And all the pressure and all the... He climaxes with verse 33. Hey, I'm only trying to quote the Bible to you. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Did he actually say that? Mercy. He actually. Look at verse 8. Therefore do not be like them, for your Father knows the things you have need of before you ask him. Whoa. And if my whole focus is on driving down the road, have a flat tire. Oh, flat tire. Oh, man. How do you fix a flat tire? Oh, you get out your tools. You go back to your trunk. You take your jack out. You take your spare out. You bring it over, the jack. You crank up. You take the lug nuts off. You pull the bad one off. You put the new one on. You fix your problem with tools. Welcome to Christianity. We have great tools to fix your problems. What are the tools? Prayer is a problem fixer. No, it's not. Prayer is not a jack in your tire in your trunk for your flat tires. Prayer is an intimacy with the divine Jesus that literally begins to, you have his heart and you want what he wants and you're in relationship with him. And prayer is pillow talk with Jesus. Prayer is whisper in my ear. Prayer is all of the communication of an intimate time with Jesus, not a fix my problem, not a get God to do what I want to do. We do not dance around a dead idol, cutting ourselves trying to get out of him what we want. Are you with me on this? Prayer is aligning my life with, I want your heart. And if you want me to starve to death, bless God, bring it on. Which brings us into fasting. See, this is a whole different way of thinking, isn't it? I've struggled with this for years. We want revival. We want revival in the church. God, move. We want to win this community. And we want revival in the church. Well, what's it take? Prayer. You got to pray to have revival, bless God. Prayer will bring revival. Got to have prayer. How much prayer? We organized all-night prayer sessions. We had 99 and 1/2 hour prayer. And revival didn't come. Oh, God wanted 100 and we missed it by a half hour. Oh. Do you have a God like that? I don't believe in that kind of God at all. Can you imagine going to the very moment to enter into heaven and he says, sorry, you can't come in. But Jesus, I gave my whole life to you. You know, I've loved each other all these years. You can't come in. Why not? You were baptized twice forward. I wanted you baptized 3 backwards. That's ridiculous, isn't it? As if he would care. God won't answer your prayers. Why not? You don't pray in Jesus' name. You mean a magical phrase at the end of each prayer guarantees? That's ridiculous. Because this is not about magical statements. This is not meeting requirements. This is about, intimacy. Oneness. I'm in the kingdom. And everything we're looking for is there. So he says, I want you to take your materialism. I want you to take your prayer life. I want you to take the fasting. And I want you to bring it all into this intimate relationship. And I want you to focus it entirely on him and what he desires. And let him drive you. And let that filter through your prayer life and see what it does to you. Let it filter through your materialism and see what it does to your concerns. I want you to focus to be on him and not on the worldly things. Teenager, I want your focus to be on him. See what that does to your career choice. See what that does to how you look at women. See what that does to you when you're hanging out with the guys. See what that does to you on the athletic field. See what that does to you in your studies. See what focusing on him rather than focusing on the earth does to you. See how that changes you. See what that does in your marriage, man. Jesus. Oh. This is almost too much to handle. And I know you're not mad at me because I've tried to observe and do it the right way. But Lord, I've been so wrapped up in doing it the right way that I missed you in the middle of all of it. And I have this big desire this morning to change, that would be changed in my life. And I'm not capable of changing that. But could you and I embrace this morning? And could my focus be you? And would you walk with me into the areas of my materialism, prayer, charitable deeds, materialism, prayer, my relationship with you, fasting, the relationship between my physical being and the eternal world? And would you walk with me in those areas and see and change my focus, how that spills out in my life? And I guess I'm going to have to start with this. I haven't been focused on you. Because I have been a worried mess. I haven't been focused on you because I've been stressed out. I haven't been focused on you because my decisions have been clouded by a focus on this world. So I want to bow. And ask you to change me. And this is not about changing something I do. This is not about, okay, I'll pray longer. This is not about that stuff. This is about you and me, intimate. And I have tried with my prayers to talk you into stuff and to get out of you what I need. Today I want to fall at your feet. I want to embrace. I want your opinion. I want your mind. So, help! I need help. Help me. Would you, heads are bowed, would you join me in seeking his mind? Would you join me in seeking the adjustments that would make? Would you join me in embracing him in a new intimacy that would filter into all of these areas? Be obedient.